Welcome, everybody. My name is Phil Ventresca. I'm the President and CEO here at Advanced Management Services, and I'm thrilled to welcome John Hom. John's collaborating with the team at AMS after a long career in banking, finance, and insurance with prestigious companies like Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, and Prudential. John will be contributing to the Growth Vision Initiative at AMS and helping our prospects and clients to realize the greatest benefits from the relationship with the firm. I'm proud to have John as a contributing partner on this journey and look forward to today's session and all of the future work that we'll be doing together. Welcome to the firm, John, and to the Thought Leader Interview Series. We're very excited to hear your insights on business transformation today.
Thanks very much, Phil. Glad to be here.
Perfect. So, John, let's dive right in and cover those three primary areas that you feel contribute to transformation initiatives failing.
Great. Thank you, Phil. The three that I see that's most prevalent of all the companies I've worked with, as well as in discussions with senior management teams around the world, could be grouped into three categories. The first is in the area of strategy and leadership. The second is the area of people and process. And the third is in the area of program management and governance. And it's these three areas that I find where transformations really stall. So let me start with the first one, which is strategy and leadership. So in my experience working with senior teams around the world, if there's a lack of a clear strategic direction for a particular transformation initiative, then or there's a lack of alignment around that strategic direction, that's the number one reason why transformations either fail or stall. And just to put some additional color around this, we hear a lot going around digital transformation and AI. And, when I'm working with senior teams, I see a lot of money and investment that's being poured into these initiatives. And rightfully so. So they're looking at new ways of engaging with customers and meeting customer needs. So they're all well-intended investments. However, when I start hearing conversations about using digital and transforming, using AI to transform business operations to sell products to customers, that's when I really begin to work with senior management identifying what they're trying to accomplish. So, companies often will try to sell direct to customers, but if they haven't been selling directly to customers, they've been selling primarily to wholesalers, like in B2B, then when they start saying they could sell to customers, that's a whole different ballgame in terms of the capabilities they need, in terms of the products and services they offer, as well as the type of profitability that companies should expect. So I always caution these companies before you pour all that money into AI and digital transformation programs, really step back and ask yourself, what are we trying to do strategically? And then rallying the senior team around that. If that's done, then I see transformations going very well. But if they're not done, then projects and programs and money and capital gets invested and in a way that's not optimal.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, John. So is it fair to say that developing a program or a project plan for this implementation is a sensible way for companies to approach it? And what have you seen in your experience are some of those more finite steps that companies might be able to take to ensure the success? I know you've just done a great job describing kind of the macro and strategic elements, but when we get into that project and execution level, what types of things should they be looking out for or planning for to be successful?
Very good question. So there's two things that when setting up a project will ensure a success in a major transformation. The first is, in my experience, I've seen a lot of transformations really falter because they are overbuilt. Okay, so yes, granted, transformations are highly complex. They affect multiple business lines and even geographies. So especially top line growth initiatives. So but they could be organized in such a way that they fall under the weight of how they've been structured. There's a working group, there's a working committee, there's a steering committee, there's multiple working groups that are focused on XYZ, ABC, and it becomes just a huge resource hog. And from my perspective, these are important and therefore require these type of multidisciplinary teams. But I do believe that when you structure the organization, it's very lean up top. So that those people that are making the decisions are indeed the people making the decisions. And then the working group are the people that execute, but keep the top lean so they are indeed the decision makers. So that's what I would advise any company as they embark on a transformation. The other thing is the second suggestion I would make is that as you set up your project structure, your program structure, it's very well defined what the leading measures are and the lagging measures. So we see a lot of project plans that are excellent in terms of identifying the tasks, the critical milestones, the agile ways of working, and that's great. However, there has to be very clear leading and lagging indicators to indicate success of the transformation. And what I see is a fault of a lot of these programs is they tend to adopt and are more excited about leading measures like adoption, utilization. Once again, going back to digital and AI, when we see people using and adopting it, that's good. But then the lagging metric around, well, how is this driving top line growth, bottom line profitability? What do those measures look like, and are they built into the project plan? I see a lot less of that, and I think we many program teams need to work with their internal clients to generate that.
Right. That's a great answer. So from that response, I can kind of roll up into a macro that number one, that project management structure and implementation is critical. But more importantly, the controls to that project or KPIs, as we may call them, understanding the leading and lagging indicators. But I suppose that could roll up into really being able to define what success looks like and
Mhm.
measure the journey on the way to that. And then I think I heard you really kind of talking about stakeholder involvement, engagement, and visibility throughout the process, because obviously any transformation initiative is going to be somewhat disruptive, but we can head some of that off at the pass and mitigate some of those risks through these different approaches that you're describing. So to that, let me take it down then to kind of the final level is the individuals involved in this initiative will need to be equipped with a certain skill set and really be able to interact with those areas of the project that you just defined. So, what do you find some of the most common skills are that we should be bringing back to our clients and to our organizations to ensure that our people are ready to keep up with the transformation and the all of the attributes associated with that?
Yeah, I think some of the key skills you started to mention, because since these programs tend to be multidisciplinary, multi-business line, multi-country, you have a lot of stakeholders that you need to engage and bring into the fold at the right moments in time. And so the ability to influence and engage with different stakeholders is a key skill. And it's heightened even more in large transformations. So that's number one. Number two is you never know what's going to happen with these transformations. Things go out of whack every once in a while. So you have to have the ability to adjust and pivot and not be afraid to bring up issues in a real time way, in a candid way. I see too many update meetings, red, yellow, green. There's almost no red. And it's this concern about looking bad or failure. And that's not good for a multi year transformation because there could be red flags that, if headed off earlier, can really get a transformation program on track. So the ability to really stand up and share upfront and candidly what's really going on with the transformation is really important. And the third piece is project managers who are really driving the execution. They have to have a key competency around driving change. So it's not just providing updates, it's not just indicating where are certain interdependencies, but they really have to coach and advise the leaders of their projects and programs on where the where change needs to be approached, looked at, and then managed so that the transformation is effective. So they have to see themselves not just as project managers, but also change agents in the transformation.
That's a great segue into that next conversation around enabling the project management culture to be both supportive and directive in the essence that the project or program manager is truly the CEO of their initiative and has that organizational responsibility to help drive it. And I think culture is so important, whether it be enterprise or even within the project and change initiative itself. Because as you said, we need to feel as though there is a level of sincerity and trust between all of the contributors so that true feedback can be given and incremental change can be made. So as we wrap all of this up, John, I think this is really helpful and insightful in terms of transformation. But the one thing that comes to my mind is we hear so much about change initiatives and change management. And in today's world, we're talking about transformation. Is there a delineation between those two descriptors? Is there anything that you would say to individuals that are used to hearing about change and change management that maybe in the terms that we're discussing here today, transformation initiatives differ slightly?
Yeah, I think by nature of the word itself, transformation is either if it's top line or bottom line profitability or top line growth, transformation is doing business as a different way, is really looking at a different way of working or operating, or looking at a customer differently in terms of how we sell to them or how we engage with them. It is, change management, I think, has been around. The terminology has been around for a long time. I think to some degree that it's more equated to BAU. So we have BAU. So what do we need to change? What's the change management associated with that? And kind of let's get on with it. Transformation is a big C. It's not a smaller C in terms of fundamentally looking at the way the business operates, its business model, and how it engages with its customers.
Yeah, that's great. So, John, I think today has been really helpful, and it certainly supports the concept that we try to bring to market as a consulting firm is that, we look at the people, the process, the technology, and the organization, because all of those components of, what we refer to as the DNA of an organization is really what leads to that high performance culture and output of any project, whether it be transformation, change, or otherwise. So I'm hopeful that today's session sheds some light on this topic for our listeners and viewers. And for those of you that are following us, this will be able to be found across our digital platforms, YouTube, our Insights podcast, which is on Spotify. And certainly you can contact us to gain more information, set up some time with John and or myself to discuss this in more detail. So, John, just one more time, thank you for this contribution. Looking forward to the journey together, and I appreciate your time and energy. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. I appreciate it.
Okay.